I was gonna say, like, hearing that any part of the O-Train development is on schedule is like vaguely sinister. Because
It is.
I'm like, why? What are you not telling me? Like, what's going on behind the scenes there that it's working normally? I'm suspicious. Hello,
Hello.
Hello.
welcome back to Standard Humans plus an additional Standard Human.
But yeah, welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. I think this might be the first one that comes out in the new year. Hope that's good. Hope your themes are all looking well and doing good. We haven't recorded that yet. That's in the future one. That's the fun of editing and then releasing in the
travel.
future. Oh yeah.
I hope everyone's resolution is to ride on a train that is working and has good frequency and range.
That's a good resolution. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot you can do to affect that, maybe. I mean, I guess you could like go get your master's in planning or something and then, get a job at the city and be instrumental in the construction of a new train line to go near your house. But
I mean, all you really have to
yeah,
do is join the right WhatsApp group and then you're basically in, right? So
that's true. Then you're pulling all the strings.
yeah, that's the only qualification you need to plan a transit project. It's a WhatsApp account.
Yeah.
And those of you good on picking up clues from context, this is the fourth, right?
Yeah, fourth.
Fourth and final train episode. Shout out to the nation of Germany and to my mother, because I know both of these have heard this podcast, or this series of podcasts. So,
Excellent.
hello.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these have been very good. I think some of the highest performing in a while. So that is very cool.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you
people
for
want to
this
know.
knowledge, Declan. They do. They need to know about the O-Train.
The people in the Ottawa metropolitan area and the nation of Germany, they got question marks about what's going on with that O-Train there. Why isn't it performing, the way it was promised?
They do, yeah. Shout out to the German listeners. Y'all have taken over our stats for the last little bit. So shout out. We love to have you here.
Yeah.
With that being said, should we efficiently make our way into the content?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's. So, Declan, did you want to give a little recap of what we've been up to these past 3 parts, real quick, like?
Uh, we've covered a lot. The first part we covered like what is public transportation, like what are the types of public transportation. We went over like the history of transit in Ottawa, trying to set up like the transitway, the bus transitway, and the first O train, all leading up to the Confederation line starting episode 2. We got all the planning behind the O train and the Jim Watson and maybe some problems from the start and maybe some problems in the middle. Maybe some
Perhaps.
problems at the end. Oh.
Yeah, and for a bit of a legend or just like things we're gonna reference probably. Line 1, the red line, or no, line 1, yeah, the red line and the Confederation line are all the same, and they go east-west from Tunney's Pasture to Blair. And then the green line, line 2, and the Trillium line are all the same, going north-south from some location to another location because it hasn't been working for years, so I forget where it goes. So, hitting, Carlton and Algonquin thereabouts. As well, the WhatsApp group we will probably reference, and that was a WhatsApp group where some city officials decided what information should go to city council and what shouldn't. Little background, it should have all gone. But and so that group was composed of, at different times potentially, Jim Watson, Alan Hubley. Who else was there?
John Manconi, Steve Kanalaknos, and other people close to the mayor, I think.
But yeah, to like wrap that all up, we've gone through prehistory, we've gone through the history of construction, we've gone through the development of the project, we've gone through the grand opening of the project last time, and a lot of what's going on right now. And now we get to a mix, I'll probably say, of like what's going on now and looking into the future. what the future has in store for the O-Train project, at least hopefully or potentially.
Or
Good and
not
bad.
hopefully, maybe.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm sure I will keep up the 100% record for train episodes of saying, why'd they put the westernmost stop in this phase of expansion at Moody and not at Eagleson Park and Ride? Pretty sure I've said that every episode. I'm probably just gonna get it out of the way now. That's that. You know.
Yeah. I think we can start off with you just talked about the WhatsApp group and what they did. Just to start us off, they now none of them except for Alan Hubley have jobs in the government anymore. Most of them resigned after this report came out because of what the report said about them. I mean,
That they were very naughty.
Jim Watson did not even try to run for re-election. He just waited out his term and then quietly went away, kind of thing. But yeah, now there's new people at City Hall.
Though I
Uh,
will also say that the old people definitely didn't go out without a bit of a fuss, because I remember at some point seeing that they spent quite a bit of public money trying to put spins on their testimonies during the inquiry to try and make them seem not as bad.
Oh, lovely.
But the report came out and it was scathing.
yeah,
Which you love to see.
a
Yeah,
move you could expect them to do from
from the entire history of this project.
what they've done previously.
And honestly, the entire history of most politics ever.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising they even resigned, They could have just pretended nothing happened, right?
Well, that's kind of the same as my thoughts on Toronto's old mayor. What's his name?
Rob
It's
Ford or
no,
John
no,
Tory.
John Tory, which absolutely hilarious name, by the way. He was literally a conservative, and his name was Tory. That's great.
John Tory,
Yeah,
mayor of the Conservatives. I think he
yeah,
was head of was it the provincial or the federal Conservatives for a while?
not the federal. I don't think. I don't know though, but
It was a while
that's
back though.
yeah, sort of the same as him. It's like, well, you did a bad thing, but kind of respect for actually stepping down instead of just pretending it never happened or just being like, yeah, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, that was the right thing to do. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe the right thing to do in the first place was to not have an affair with your staffer, but once that's done.
Some might say that you shouldn't be doing that.
But once it's done,
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
that is
it's
good to step down.
Yeah.
it's funny that both Ottawa and Toronto had their mayors basically resign around the same time.
So
Very
slightly
different
disgraced.
reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Extremely.
Mhm.
But yeah. Oh, but now there's a new mayor elected with kind of a suburban vote. Maybe said some comments about there being a war on cars.
Did he?
He did.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've
I
actually
was so
seen him.
sad when I saw it.
I've seen him in person before.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
shit.
Like right after he got elected, I was at I think I was at Come From Away. Great play if you guys haven't seen it, but I was watching Come From Away, I think with my grandmother at the NAC, and we are going down the stairs and I was like, "Hey, that's that guy, isn't it?" And then I think it was my uncle was like, "Yeah, hey, that's our mayor." Oh, hello.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah. So he is at least a moderate enjoyer of theater. We know that about him.
There you go. Very good.
Oh, I didn't
How
know
could
about the
you?
war. I didn't know about the war on car thing, so that's so disappointing.
Well, we like that bit about him, but definitely not some other things. But some of the other stuff's a little unfortunate. Also, is that like the second
Oh
time
wait,
you've seen Come From Away?
no, that was the only time. This is a while ago.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Wait. What do you mean? Was he saying like, did he have like a Rob Ford position on war on cars? Is that what you mean?
He's definitely not as extreme as Rob Ford. I think
Yeah.
his kind of slogan was want a balanced approach to transit in the city, which just means that
Not too
I
good, guys.
from what I understand, just keeping the status quo, which is that cars kind of are the only
Okay.
way to get around in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which seems about right because he got what do you call it? when a party recommends or gives you or says this is a good candidate. What's that called again?
Oh my god, why am I?
An industry
The
plant.
word. No,
Uh,
no. Meaning he basically got the nod from I think both the conservatives and the liberals.
Oh, just a moderate.
Yeah. So he's just very moderate, probably like center right type of. So yeah, like you said, kind of holding up the status quo, unfortunately.
Yeah. Endorsements. He got endorsements from
Endorsements. There you go. That's the word.
liberal and conservative politicians. So
Sorry, he is
people, yeah,
officially just an
yeah. There's
affiliate.
no
There's no parties at
parties
the.
at full level.
But like that he's been involved with, because he was just like a radio presenter, right?
Oh, that's true as well. Is that he's kind of like an outsider,
Yeah.
almost. I mean, his radio show I think talked about municipal politics, but you know, he wasn't a council member or a MP or MPP or anything before. Also, by the way, his name is Mark Sutcliffe.
Yes.
That's good. I feel like did I mention it, or have we not mentioned that yet?
I don't think we've mentioned it. I think we just said the mayor,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
mayor.
like it's a cartoon.
Yeah, so Mark Sutcliffe. So okay, we've talked about him a little generally. What about transit? What are some of the thoughts there?
So specifically for transit, I've seen, at least for specifically for like public transit, negatively, I think he's been, going through budget cuts for OC Transpo. We've kind of seen either in the bus review that's come out, there's a plan to bring down service hours by,
Oh my
I forget
gosh,
how much percentage.
that's definitely not what the OC Transpo needs.
It's like I think reorganizing the bus routes isn't the worst thing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry they have to do it, but just bringing down service hours is not going to help with ridership.
but I was just thinking, like when I worked in the city and lived in Canada, I would occasionally go out for, I don't know, dinner and drinks with some friends. Like, I'd finish work at like 5 or 5:30. I'd meet them maybe like 6:30. We'd have some dinner till like 8. Go to a bar till like 11, and I'd leave at 11 and try to get home. And 9 times out of 10, I could only get to the Eagleson parking ride, and I would have to either walk an hour or take a cab back to my house. And I'm like, I left the bar on a Friday night at 11. Like, that is not an incredibly late night. Like, there's a lot of people who would be making that trip,
Yeah, you'd think wouldn't want people to drive when coming home from a bar.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what I was just saying. That's what they're doing. Obviously, it's the Ottawa way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or just go to the horse. Sometimes you
yeah.
want to go to other places than the horse.
But yeah, okay, so that's unfortunate. Some cuts to the bus hours.
Positively though, I mean, it's like he's like a fairly moderate, there's still stuff that's going to happen. There's still a lot of transit projects like bus rapid transit projects and stuff that are still on the cards and will probably still get built and stuff. And he's promised to build stage 3 of the O-Train as well, though we might talk about that in a minute. Oh, and also, I wanted to briefly talk about, this is just from like a few days ago, but Toronto just reached a deal with the provincial leader Doug Ford to hand over its highways. So the city of Toronto was spending a very large amount of money on uh maintaining highways like the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardiner Expressway that were given to the city, I think, in the 90s. And now Doug Ford wants to take the highways back and then allow the city to spend more on transit and housing in part of a deal they've made. And that's like big news in Toronto right now. Have you guys heard of it?
Yes. Yeah, I've heard a fair bit. That was mostly from RM Transit's newsletter, to be honest. And then now I'm starting to hear about it more in the paper of people complaining about it more. But it seems like the big thing was like there was a massive budget shortfall in the city, much of which relates to the TTC. So I'm glad that got fixed because that could have ended up being bad. with them not having any money. And it seems like the major things were province agrees to give the city a bunch of money for like 4 years or so, I think, give or take a year. And in exchange, the province gets the highways back, which they're probably better at maintaining them anyway. And we weren't going to
Yeah.
rip them out anyways, so that's probably fine. And also the city
Really?
stops trying to push back on the Ontario Place spa is the other major thing, I think.
Spa?
Oh, do you not know about the spa?
No.
Honestly, that's a whole other rabbit hole. The people are so divided on that.
Like a
Doug,
literal spa?
do you know Ontario Place?
Yeah, like where the concerts are and stuff.
Yes. So
Been
Doug
there.
Ford wants to basically get this, I forget where they're from, something Scandinavian company, to put this massive spa complex there. Just take out a lot of the park and put a giant spa complex.
I think including a parking lot.
Oh, that's true. There's a lot of debates about the parking lot too, and exactly how that will happen. But it's a massive complex that they're planning just to revitalize the area. Like Ontario Place used to have a lot more private businesses and stuff, like be much more of a destination.
Yeah.
It's now more of a park, but he's just got this vision to have this giant spa.
Why does the province have literally any say in this?
Mate, it's
Do they? Or is that just his opinion?
they
Because
question
it's
actually. I mean, it's Ontario
solidly
Place.
in the city.
Basically,
Well, I mean, on a technical level, cities don't really exist. They don't have any legal standing, right? They're things that
Yeah.
the province set up to like do stuff. I don't know. I actually don't know who owns that land. It might well be the province. It's called Ontario Place. I don't know. But anytime the city wants to do something, or a lot of time when the city wants to do something, they need provincial funding because they're not allowed to raise like income taxes or anything for a municipal level. So they need funding for shit. And I don't know. Doug Ford just likes to mess with Toronto City. I feel like it's a lot of
He
like
does.
just getting back at grudges from when he was on
Yes.
council.
For sure, that's definitely true.
But also, I think the Ontario government's always been heavily involved in Toronto because it's the biggest city. So that kind of makes sense.
and their capital.
Yes, it is the
Yeah.
capital as well.
Are we talking on the island?
Not on the island, no. But we should also move away from the spa. But anyways,
And that's
think
so
the-
close to the highway for a spa.
It kind of, I mean, it's a little ways away. I feel
Is
like
it?
you wouldn't hear that much noise because it kind of
Okay.
turns away towards like exhibition and that kind of area a little bit, but it is still kind of close.
Wow. What a weird story.
A little bit, yeah. But anyways, Toronto reached a deal. I feel like on the whole,
Yes.
it's probably net positive, maybe a couple drawbacks, but
I was just gonna say is I think it's good for Toronto's finances.
yes,
It's
big
the
helpful.
big thing.
It's a short-term
Um,
plug. We'll see if they can find a more longer-term solution, but very needed.
Well, with the highway thing, so does that confirm that Gardiner Expressway will just be rebuilt and continue to be smack in the waterfront, pretty much?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Oh no. Oh,
And
well.
also, I mean, it didn't seem like there was any potential for it to actually be torn down in the near future. Like they were considering building one little section of it at ground that was really falling apart, but that was about it. And I mean, the other potential negative is that the province is also committed to never tolling it, which the city wasn't really planning on doing. Apparently, John Tory tried to toll it at one point, but got massive pushback.
Why do people lose their minds so much about toll roads here?
I
Because
don't
we
know.
have the 407, like that's just a normal thing we all accept. Like just do that again.
Don't do the 407 again. Don't sell it to a private
No,
company.
no,
But
not
do
that.
toll
But
roads.
like just having a toll road where if you're in a hurry, you just take it.
I feel like it's the same thing as like parking should be free to a lot of people. Like it's just a like right that they feel like that they have at this point or that they've come to expect.
Yeah, because it's like again, it's like so. Imagine just like the same deal with the former, slightly quicker. You pay a bit, like just that, but just another one. Like that's literally it.
so I just wanted to say that there's rumors that Ottawa could do a similar thing because they got given a highway by the Ontario government in the 90s as well. The 174, which runs through Orleans, a suburb in the east. So that could help maybe alleviate some of Ottawa's or OC Transpo's budget problems and I guess further Ottawa's budget problems kind of thing. Though they are going to also keep asking the federal government
Makes sense. They do live there. I feel like they should pay rent or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you think. Yeah. The other thing is that since the report and stuff, we got OC Transpo got a new head the new head of OC Transpo named Renee Amilcar, and I think she's done a better job definitely than her predecessor. I think. She worked in like Montreal on buses and stuff.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
And I think she's been at least more transparent about a lot of the processes that have gone on. I was able to give Aiden like daily updates about one of the O-Train shutdowns while we were on vacation somewhere.
Yeah, over the
Um,
summer when
good.
they were having to like grease issues on the axles, I was getting daily updates from you because they were on top of sharing what was actually going on with the train and like the latest was.
That's quite nice.
Yeah. So that's a good precedent, I think. And also during that shutdown, they kind of kept changing the bus routes to make them a bit better at least during it. And I know that OC Transpo still has a lot of room, but I think she's doing better than her predecessor at least.
Oh, that's what I've been saying for ages. Just like we got two cities on either end, if you skip Kingston, that have great public transport, at least for Canadian standards. So like, yeah, just get one of those guys to come over, tell us what's good,
Or
and
one of those gals. She seems to be doing
yeah, guy in the
the
general.
platonic
Gender
guys.
neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
the gender
dude
neutral guy.
sense.
Or,
Yeah, gender neutral guy. Yeah,
The they them guy.
yeah.
yeah, I think she'll hopefully bring over some Montreal stuff. Maybe we can get some more frequent buses.
That would be cool.
We can get maybe the sexiest subway in Canada because Montreal's subway is pretty sexy. It's
Yeah.
just quiet and has nice stations with cool layered. It's not that different from Toronto. I don't know. It just looks cool. The Montreal stations, they're very nice looking.
Oh, the Lionel Grew. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
I've been to that one. I've just been to
The cross-platform transfers.
Oh
That's
my
right.
God.
yeah.
Oh
Cross-platform
my God.
transfer. That's so cool.
Yeah, that is very nice. Anyway, yeah, you were saying.
But then we can talk about kind of the future of the O-Train a bit. And that is first of all stage 2. So we talked about the Confederation line and what's been built so far and that whole project, and that was stage 1, that like 12.5 kilometers in the center of the city. Now they're building farther out. Currently, the west extension of stage 2 is due to be complete in late 2026, which is about like I think 18 months behind schedule. Um, the east is supposed to be due in early 2025, which is actually I think basically on schedule.
Makes sense because it's entirely along a highway right of way, but it's still good to hear because you can't
Yes.
take that for granted at this point with this project.
Even when it's all flattened out already, it's
Even when
Yeah.
it's down the middle of a highway,
Yeah.
it's still like, can they do it?
It's gonna take lanes from the cars. LRTs take car lanes.
I think they are giving back the lanes that they took because they did have to take some for the construction.
Of course they are. Oh, that
Um,
would be actually kind of funny though to see just like a streetcar, like a old school streetcar with tracks down the middle of like a highway, like fully integrated with the car traffic,
That'd be
just
sick.
blazing it.
Yeah. That'd be
Just
awesome.
There's an old school single bogey streetcar in the middle of a highway.
See you later, losers.
Love to see one of those going like 120.
That'd be so funny.
Falling apart. Yeah, get one of those things from downtown Toronto. Smack that on the Queensway. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
it'll be alright. It would get up to speed, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah, the snaky boys. They'd
I've
get
seen
up
it hit
there.
40 sometimes, so
Yeah, that's about the max for those.
yeah.
Probably. I think it can go up to like 80 or so, at least, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyways, so expansions. East is on schedule. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. And then the south is supposed to be done in spring of 2024, which is I think about a year or more than that behind schedule. which it being pushed back isn't great, but it not being pushed out, rushed, and is somehow an
Yeah.
improvement on before.
I was gonna say, like, hearing that any part of the O-Train development is on schedule is like vaguely sinister. Because
It is.
because I'm like, why? What are you not telling me? Like, what's going on behind the scenes there that it's working normally? And I'm suspicious.
There's no way you actually checked all these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, you don't need fire suppressant systems if you just don't light anything on fire. It's fine. You can
Well,
just skip that part of the testing.
it's kind of like the civic equivalent of when your husband brings you flowers for no reason. It's like, okay, what am I gonna find out later?
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what's happening with the O-Train.
Yeah, so you're on time just for no reason. Hmm.
Yeah, but this is a lot of rail expansion. Is the expansion just stage 2 is 43 kilometers of rail, which I forgot to write down the stations, but this is like that's like 4 times almost, well, not almost 4 times like of what stage 1 was in terms of just kilometers of rail. It'll bring the total system up to like 63 kilometers of rail.
Which is decent.
Yeah, I mean, I think before the REM, at least, Montreal Metro was about 70 kilometers in total, and the Toronto subway right now, I think, is about 70 kilometers in total.
Oh wow.
So it would bring it
So,
up to like current Toronto and Montreal, or like Montreal and Toronto from like a couple of years ago, which
yeah,
is an impressive growth over like a decade. Well, a decade and a half, too. Something like that.
yeah,
Still very good.
yeah. It'll cover most of the city, I think. Yeah, obviously not Gatineau apparently, but whatever.
God, yeah, they really need something. Hopefully their trams get approved, but they should get run through lines.
Yeah. And hopefully stage 2 will also come with more bus connections like I talked a bit about before. With the bus review, those are going to be great. There's some great freebies in there that are coming. Also, the other thing about stage 2 is our little legend at the start is going to become a little bit different because
Oh
now there's
yeah.
going to be
True.
line 1 and line 3 running east-west.
Oh yeah. So Moody is actually line 3 station, isn't it?
Yes. So like they'll be on the exact same rail alignment until like in the west at Lincoln Fields they'll split into two, and one will go further south and will go to Algonquin College, and one will go further west and go to out towards Canada at least. It'll stop just after Bell's Corners kind of thing. And then there'll also be a line 4 little airport link from line 2, which is not the greatest airport link.
But it's an airport link.
It is a airport link though.
Yeah, is it still using like the same trains and everything?
It'll use the I think
Oh,
these
it's using
ones.
the old ones.
Yeah.
Because line
Diesel?
2 is going to use the flirts, right?
I think
Which are
actually,
also diesel.
yeah, I think it'll be almost all the splurts and maybe one of these double card up. I think I
Okay.
By
heard
these,
someone say.
by these you mean the electric?
Oh yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Declan has a model train that he's holding
Yeah.
of the old
it's
or the current, I guess. I guess you'd say old because it's not running line 2 lines.
Coradia Lint, an Alstom train actually.
Oh, there you go.
And now we're switching those ones to Stadler, the Swiss.
It's
Go.
pretty surprising that we'd move from electric to diesel in this sort of.
Well, we're not
Oh.
going from electric to diesel. We're going from diesel to diesel on that line.
Well, on that line, yeah, but like in terms of like development, like I guess you'd need to uproot the old tracks, right? No.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think they're leaving space for electrical lines to be put up, like overhead wires to be put up, but they're just not putting them up yet. And eventually there's the potential that they can eventually put them up, kind of thing.
'Cause that seems
Yeah.
like something people in City Hall would be interested in flexing. Like, look, we have electric trains. Wow, we're so environmentally friendly. Look at us.
I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like as a minimum viable product, since this is an offshoot of a track that still runs diesel and doesn't have the wires up yet, it's probably fine to keep it on. Like, it's better to have the link and get
Oh, yeah.
more people out of cars
I
for
agree.
now. But
Yeah.
they definitely do need to be keeping that option open and eventually upgrading to electric because that is much better service and better for the planet. But
Totally.
I assume it'll be cheaper to have energy costs being electricity rather than diesel, especially after
Yes.
the pandemic and how much diesel costs have gone up. But yeah, then we have to talk about stage 3, which is gonna be part of that west extension. Line 3 is gonna go further west across the Greenbelt into Canada. Line 1 is gonna go further south across the Greenbelt into Barhaven, two very far suburbs from the center of the city that we know very well.
Barhaven, not so much.
Not yeah. um, it's gonna add 21 more kilometers to the system, bring it up to like 84 kilometers. Yeah, and this is kind of on the not necessarily gonna happen now.
Oh,
It's
wait.
That's stage 2. This is stage 3.
Stage
Stage 2
3
still
now.
good.
Yeah,
Still
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
but stage 3 is maybe on the chopping block.
Stage 3, there's been no construction for stage 3. It's just been some planning and stuff. But
Wait, so sorry, line 3 is part of stage 2?
yes.
Oh.
It'll be pretty small branches at the end, but there'll be branches. Also, a quick sidebar. I feel like that's a really confusing naming system. Why are lines 1 and 3 along the same line, and then lines 2 is on a different one? Like, at least switch up the numbers and do 1 and 2. Or I feel like it would make more sense to have like a 1A
Oh,
and 1B or something,
well,
or like a
maybe
1 Canada.
maybe they're
and 1
doing
Barhaven.
odd and even. Evens go north south, odd go east west.
I guess so, yeah. But like, I feel like that's still just unnecessary. I mean, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
People will get it, but it's odd.
Yeah, I feel like I can't
Mhm.
think of any numbered train system that is like entirely satisfying. Toronto was until 3 no longer exists, and now it's just 1, 2, 4. So
I mean, that does make sense in that they should keep that as a placeholder for when the Ontario line opens, and then that'll be the third downtown line, which does make sense. But
yeah,
rip 3.
and yeah,
And Montreal's.
Montreal's. I just go by colors. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just colors, which it's pretty. I don't know. It's pretty good.
yeah. Easy to discuss, I guess. Unless you're colorblind, then I don't know.
Yeah, so stage 3 is on the rocks, because since the Grease Axle event, Doug Ford and the provincial government has said that they won't be providing funding until the train is fixed. I think it is a very vague thing that they're saying, but hopefully we are able to fix it by late 2026 when the West Extension is done. Provincial funding is even more important on stage 3 just because it's going to be 50% provincial funding and 50% federal and 0% municipal.
So that's very needed
Yeah.
to get it done.
Something I never thought I would say, but in Doug Ford's defense here, that kind of makes sense. Like, hey, your train's fucked, and you want to build a new one. Like, make this one work first before you build a new one. But hopefully that results in them just fixing the train for good and then building line 3 instead of just being like, oh, well, we can't fix the train, so I guess we won't build line 3. So one option is great and the other option is disastrous. So we'll see, hopefully it's the first one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because like I don't know, cities can also chew gum and walk, as it were, and like it would be, I think, better like at the end of the day to still have like the extension going and construction going on it, and then like have the train being fixed in parallel to that because it's not going to open for a long time, like 20 kilometers of rail. So just pushing it back pushes it back a lot more. But oh well, I can kind of see it.
Yeah, I guess the farther they wait, the more out of touch the budget promises are going to be and stuff like that.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
But there's also those problems that I talked about with OC Transpo's funding, or that I alluded to earlier. Um, ridership is still not at its pre-pandemic levels. It's at like 63%. Or I think I saw a source at 63 or one source at 70% of pre-pandemic levels.
So about 2/3.
Yeah, which I don't think is great in comparison to Toronto and Montreal's recovery, which aren't perfect either, but I think because of the amount of federal government jobs in Ottawa that are having more open to the stay-at-home policies, the work-from-home policies. There's been a greater effect on our commuting, and also in combination with that, the construction of the Stage 2 O-Train has increased the travel times for commuting on the bus by a good portion. So OC Transpo has less money than maybe they would otherwise have had, and this is important when talking about Stage 3 because the city is considering not doing Stage 3 for like potentially multiple decades.
Oh my gosh.
Because they say that it'll only like increase revenue by like 5 million by doing Stage 3, while increasing costs by 64 million per year. And that means like a 2% increase in ridership only kind of thing.
Huh. Well, I pretty confident. I don't know. Honestly, like if it did go at least to Eagleson Park and Ride or to Terry Fox Station or to both, then I think it would increase Canada transit usage dramatically. Um, like for anything you wanted to do downtown, you could just take a bus, walk, or even drive to like those large transit hubs and then just zoom off on the train downtown. A legitimate attraction for a lot of people because, everybody like, traffic, I hate all the highways all getting whatever. You don't have to deal with that with the train. So if it actually went to Canada, I think that would dramatically increase ridership. At least people taking it once a week or more would go up a lot because now if people want to get downtown a lot of the time, they're like, oh, I don't want to take the 61 or 60 because then I can still get stuck in traffic on the highway. And yeah. So yeah, I think it does legitimately make a pretty big difference that it doesn't quite get to Canada.
I agree. I think even if they built out not all of the Stage 3 plans and did portions of it to make at least a better end to the system, at least for now, that would probably be better than just not doing any of it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm not sure what to think about these numbers as well. Because yes, like Canada. Well, I guess Stage 3 is more than just Canada, or is it just Canada?
and Barhaven.
And Barhaven, right? They're like not the biggest of communities. Like each of them are about like 150,000 each. Like Canada Stittsville is like 150K.
Yeah.
But I just have a sneaking suspicion that that's a slightly sandbagged number, which does happen frequently enough with some transit agencies where they intentionally make some just weird choices with their assumptions when trying to like budget something out or predicting a cost that make certain options seem like way more or less viable than they actually are if you were doing it reasonably.
Is there any kind of peer reviews to these typically, or is it just they just say something and then we're like, okay, guess that's true?
This was like a technical briefing for members of council. I'm honestly not entirely sure what the process was for this.
But yeah, I will just also like point out that like it feels like they're not taking into account how like transit projects influence development and how that would like increase density and change ridership patterns around the
Exactly.
transit afterwards. But as you said, like I don't know the specifics of what they did, so maybe again, Canada's smaller. Like over in Toronto, we're still struggling to get a freaking subway into Scarborough, and that's bigger than all of downtown Ottawa. So like that's where we're
Yeah,
at.
Yeah, I
that's a
mean,
fair point.
Canada and Barhaven being like 150,000 and 100,000 people is like 250,000 people, which is like a quarter of Ottawa's population.
Yeah,
Just
so that's significant to Ottawa. Yeah.
yeah,
I could maybe believe that in the short term, it might be a very small increase in revenue, though that still seems small, like 5 mil versus 64 mil in operating costs.
Yeah.
But I think over time that would change because, like I said, transit does influence development. That's like a cycle. Like if you build the trains, more stuff will come, especially if Ontario can start like borrowing some of those laws that, what was it, Vancouver, BC was starting to implement about like mandatory like minimum sizes of buildings around transit hubs.
Really?
Be
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like just like much. It specifies. I think it's the number of floors that the buildings have to be at least within certain distances, and it kind of like gradually goes down as you get farther away from the station. And it both does like high order transit, like trains, as well as like major bus stops or terminals as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Kind of, huh? That's I don't know. That's a bit odd that it's specifically height,
I think it was
but
height. I could be misremembering, but I think it was.
but yeah, I mean increasing density around transit options.
That is where you need to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So this deal might be, or this stage might be on the blocks. Might be a little rocky.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep thinking like, oh my God, Mark Sutcliffe promised to do this. Mark Sutcliffe wouldn't let me down, right?
Mark Sutcliffe
Please,
wouldn't
Mark
break his
Sutcliffe.
promises.
Don't do
Are
it,
you
Mark
telling me a Canadian politician might not do something he said he would do?
Look, Mark Sutcliffe has never smoked crack cocaine, and he'll never
Almost
go back
certainly.
on that word.
Yeah, almost certainly.
That would be a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, with the with line 3 again, like I feel like another thing that doesn't take into account is like when everybody talks about induced demand for roads, but I mean it works the same way for transport too, because like say it's somebody like me who doesn't have a car and doesn't want to buy a car. If I was like moving to Ottawa as a new Ottawan, um, then that would significantly increase the potential areas where I could look. Because if there was reliable train system to and from Canada, then I'd be like, okay, well now I can start looking in Canada without thinking I'll just be screwed without having a car to drive anywhere. So then also that would potentially increase the amount of people who live there or change the type of people who would live there because maybe they would be more open to taking transit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a big cycle.
And like between Terry Fox and Eagleson Park and Ride is like the only place in Canada with like high rises. There's some apartment buildings there, which probably would very much benefit from having a transit station.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh yeah, there are.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about
that.
they're building some more. So
Hey, there's also one apartment building by the Trans Canada Trail. Yes,
There you go.
and another
Oh,
one actually
yes.
right by.
They
Now
just
that's
renovated the
new.
one near the trail, I think, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
It looks super nice now.
yeah, it looks
I
right.
think it's a co-op too.
Yeah, I think so.
Neat.
No, but yeah, no, you're right. Those are the apartment areas. That's the main one in Canada because there's more than one.
Also, like the train or the plan for stage 3 is to expand the train to the Canadian Tire Center, which is the Senators hockey team stadium in Ottawa. Which the plan is to move the Senators closer to downtown, but even if they do that, there's so many massive parking lots in that area that could, maybe have houses or
Those could
something.
be all apartment blocks. Make
There's
a little
also
city out there.
there's
Yeah.
also Tanger Mall out there.
Yeah.
Oh
And
God,
like
Tanger Mall is so painful to walk to. Oh my God, it is.
What? How
it is
did you even walk to it?
you
not
know how
legally.
there's like a little bit of space next to like the edge of the like bridge, like
Yeah.
between like the road and the bit. You just gotta like walk on that tight bit there for a little ways.
Yeah, because
I did it once and it was a miserable experience. There's
How long?
almost no one doing it. I saw a few
that-
other people doing it, but
How long did that take?
it is. I will say that's a very walkable distance. It was probably like I don't know, like less than half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's not far away. It should be a walkable distance. It's just actively hostile environment. Like that is not somewhere you're supposed to walk to.
Yeah.
Same with like the what's it called? Not Canadian Tire Center. It is the Canadian Tire Center, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent. I just thought I was talking about the actual store for a second there. That should also be walkable, but it's not. It's like why? Why?
They
It
are
is from Glencairn or Katimavik, I guess I should maybe say.
Barely.
You have to walk beside the road, not on a sidewalk. So you have to deal with
Yeah,
that.
on the fake sidewalks. Oh, like the one that
Yeah.
goes by the private school there.
Yes.
it's got
It's
little concrete
bananas.
barriers,
Yeah.
It doesn't have concrete barriers, isn't it? Just
Well,
the little
like
car
the
ticklers.
temporary.
Yeah.
Well, the car ticklers are on top of little concrete barriers that are like
Oh, okay, a little
very short,
something.
but
You might.
they're widening the road to 4 lanes, but
Okay.
adding bike lanes and sidewalks.
Oh,
Okay, I guess so. Probably good.
a win and a loss.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, I'm somehow amazed at how those concrete blocks do get moved because they are hard to move. But sometimes I just see them like in the middle of a bike lane or something. I'm like, how, who, who crashed like right next to the intersection? Like what? How, no car should be going this way. How did you do that?
and I'm assuming you're talking about you've seen these in Toronto.
Yes, I am.
Well, as to I
That
mean, first
answers the
off, there's
question.
your answer right there. But that just reminded me of I was biking to work today, and there was some kind of mess up at like Avenue in Lawrence, where the light was like red going for the Avenue direction was red for like way too long, like it was like many minutes. So eventually, I was on a bicycle, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just wait till it's clear, and then I crossed, and then I kept watching a little bit. Um, and a surprising amount of people driving their cars just said fuck it and ran the red. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that seems about right.
But we're
Toronto
talking
driving is insane.
like it was going for like 6 minutes maybe, which is like long. But
No,
I don't
that's
think I'd
definitely
run a
broken.
red
Yeah,
after 6 minutes. I think I would just be like, what's going on here? It'd probably just turn right.
maybe. Yeah. I don't know. After a
Some,
little while, I feel like it'd probably be fine if there's not like oncoming traffic. But
like, it was like a full on left
still,
turn.
Also, there's like a sidewalk cleaner outside my house right now. This is awesome.
fun.
It's a little bit it's a little bit sad that living next to a sidewalk is kind of novel, but
Oh my God, you're right. In Canada, it is.
but you know,
Is it?
very cool.
I guess so.
Uh,
As
It depends on the
privileged,
neighborhood, but a lot
yeah.
don't.
I was gonna say I have a privileged sidewalk class,
Yeah.
and
It was such big news and controversy when they put in the sidewalk on the other side of the road on Apple Creek.
oh yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
It's just so funny.
it was on Grassy Plains.
Oh, right. Sorry, Grassy Plains. I'm mixing
Okay.
up my streets.
But yeah, and they took out the bike lane to do it, or the bicycle gutter,
Ah, damn them. Oh, well.
which I just realized I took that a bunch of the time. I think
Oh,
that bicycle gutter.
you could have taken the sidewalk if you were a kid. I feel like that's what I always did when I
No,
used
I
to bike.
couldn't. There was no sidewalk on that side.
Oh, but you can just bike on the other side.
Yeah, but it's school, you know. They're full of people.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, once you get to that point, that is full of children.
Too slow to go past all the small toddlers.
You just kick them out of the way.
As I am a taller toddler.
Exactly.
Who can ride a bike.
Truly the Lord of the Flies.
Sorry, I just we've been tangenting a bit, probably mostly me, but yeah. So this yeah, like all this to say, like the line. So yeah, line, which is pretty much just putting a train near Canada is like questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up in the air. I
Okay.
I just there's one more thing I might say about it is that in episode 1 we kind of talked about the Delcan report a little bit, and I feel like I didn't explain it super well, but basically 3 out of like 8 of the criteria they used to choose a light rail vehicle as the technology they were going to use, like 3 of the 8 criteria depend on extending this into the suburbs and in a different way than even stage 3 plans. So it just feels so redundant, like
Yeah, to backtrack, this was the report where they decided which type of train to use, whether they wanted to do like an LRT or like a light metro, or was like BRT in there as well? Or other
uh
things like that? I can't remember.
it was just at this end they kind of narrowed it down to light metro or LRT.
Mhm.
But I think also subway was in there.
Oh, that sounds
Uh
right. Yeah. But yeah, and they had the criteria for what would be good. And like you were saying, 3 of the 8 criteria were specifically about does this work well in the suburbs? And now they're not even doing the suburbs anymore, potentially.
yeah, it's like 3 of the 8 were for the suburbs, 1 was for the core, and 4 were for the system overall kind of thing, I'd say. which is
Which is, I don't know, just like Why? What? Why? Just
Yeah.
get a good spine, get a good core, get out to like the Terry Fox park and ride or whatever, and then get like a decent like BRT or like bus priority system from there. Like
Yeah, that'd be fine.
it'll work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh god. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Well, yeah, what I'm thinking for stage 3, fingers crossed it happens as planned right now, like in the same way. Like for some strange reason, yeah, Moody is the terminal station, the westernmost terminal station. It had better be like every bus you get on, or like one in every 2 buses is just shooting off straight to the train. Like
Mhm.
that had better not stay the same where it's like the buses either go to Terry Fox or Eagleson Park and Ride, and then you have to take an additional bus for like a kilometer
Oh god.
just down the
Yeah, I hope
highway to the
not.
train.
It'll be like 5 kilometers, but it's just the green belt.
Yeah, exactly. So there'd be no stopping. Like it would
Yeah.
be
Unless the green belt's full. Like heavy traffic rush hour.
It never gets
Yeah.
full during rush
Oh,
hour.
Well,
okay.
I mean like no stops. Like
Mhm.
Because there's bus lanes on it anyway, and
Oh, excellent. Okay,
there's
that's good.
also it's like 5 lanes on each side.
It
'cause
is
there's-
large.
Yeah, and then it shortens like the traffic starts further into the
yeah,
Okay.
so
But yeah, so hopefully they figure that out because that you can't just have, I mean, you could have a shuttle bus between Terry Fox and Moody, but like that
that seems
that would not make
pointless.
sense. That would be just
Yeah.
terrible bus planning.
Yeah.
I will say as well though, Moody Station looks like it will be a kind of cool bus terminal, just in that I think the bus will come up into the loop, then you'll get off the bus and just be able to walk to the train. Like you won't go up or down at all. You'll just kind of
Oh.
walk onto the platform.
Oh, like
Um,
cross-platform transfer with a train? Or
Kind of,
between
yeah.
train
Like
and bus?
there shouldn't be any steps up or down. I think you
very
just
accessible.
walk over and then hop on the train. And if it's like, I think it would be kind of weird if once it's extended, you'll have to like that side of the platform would just go to Canada, I think. But if it's the end station, I assume they'll just go there and then leave towards downtown using that platform.
Oh, I
Hopefully.
see. Okay, I just pulled up the renders, and so the trains just basically at grade. So the buses, everything's just at grade, like so you don't have to go up or down. Really, the bus just pulls up outside. You go through the turnstiles, and then you're waiting for your train.
Do you,
Let me
do you have to
see
go
this.
through the turnstiles? Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
So.
You might not have to because you already paid your fare.
Yeah, I think it
actually,
might be a
probably not.
fair paid zone as well.
It
I
Oh, I
probably
guess.
is,
see.
yeah. As I think
Yeah.
about
Okay.
it.
This is This is epic.
It'll be
That
kind of
that
cool, that part about it.
yeah, that part
Yeah.
is actually really cool and makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, it's a terminal station. I mean, it doesn't even
Mhm.
need to be a terminal station really, but um,
But this is especially
yeah,
good because you're always going one direction, so you're always on the right side. You never have to like go across the tracks. Because I guess if you're getting off at Moody, you then have to like go up and over the tracks, which is fine. But on your transfer going to downtown, easy peasy.
yeah, and like yeah, it just makes a lot of sense because then like the station looks like yeah, if Tunney's was just like at train level, like it looks visually like Tunney's, but um yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just put everything on ground level because they wouldn't intersect. So
Yeah,
smart.
very cool. All right, so
Um,
that's stage 3 then.
yeah. So then we could kind of do some conclusion stuff. Um, we could talk about we kind of already talked about why the train went bad, I think, in the last episode.
We did spend some time on it, but I feel like that's definitely good to keep talking about because that's
We could
almost the
revisit
lesson
that.
of the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about why did train go bad?
Mhm.
You kind of asked the question like, could the city have done anything? Like, could it have done anything differently? I think that was a really good question. And I think like you kind of think about it and you're like, okay, well, RTG did this. Okay, well, the province kind of did this. Maybe they couldn't have really done anything in this situation, but like they probably shouldn't have like given up kind of the responsibility to do a lot of those things right at the start, which kind of makes them still they should still be kept responsible for all the mistakes they made throughout the project kind of thing. Like this is a public project that affects like everyone in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I kind of listed a bunch of stuff here that they probably could have that they had control over, even despite the the problems where
Let's hear it.
like making a budget out of a preliminary estimate. Uh, I'm gonna say using a P3 project delivery type I don't think was the greatest idea. Even if there are better ways to do it, this it definitely enabled the situation that happened here. That on its own might not have been great.
You want to just quickly
Uh,
re-explain what a P3 is, if anybody's just hearing this one?
so it's like a public. So it's like for making the whole transit project, they chose to do a public-private partnership where basically the government provides funding and the private company does most of everything else. They do a lot of planning and they do all the construction and then they maintain the system afterwards. And in this case, bought the trains and they did most of the project, and that kind of put all the risk on the private partner as well and stuff. Something we talked about. Uh, that was most of it, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah.
um, that P3 also just didn't really help with integration. The city not helping with integrating the project didn't help it very much. And then financially limiting RTG throughout the project with fines being the only way solving their problem also didn't help. And then they also entered a legal battle with their public-private partner, which
Which
did
is
not
not
help.
doesn't breed good cooperation, I would say.
It really
Yeah,
doesn't. Yeah.
you're like, this is the biggest project in our history, and I am in court against you.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
Please do a good job for me. Um,
Otherwise, I'll sue you even harder.
That's basically what they did. Yeah.
yeah. Um, they signed off on the Alstom Citadel Spirit being a service-proven vehicle, which I think we talked about a bit. It's kind of like a weird situation to be in because I don't think they would have been able to find a service-proven vehicle with their requirements, like it being a CBT signaling system and it being a light rail vehicle. We just know that that hadn't been done before, kind of thing, in some of the reports. So I don't know if they would have been able to find a service-proven vehicle, and maybe that's why they kind of settled. But
That's what it kind of seemed like, but they probably should have stuck to an actual service-proven vehicle and gone back to the drawing board a bit on that
yeah,
one. Like I
Or they
know
might
we
be like,
mentioned, I think
yeah.
last time we mentioned that they might have had to redo like 2 years worth of work. But actually, in
or
looking briefly into some of the Eglinton Crosstown stuff, that's exactly what they did on that project. Was they just did 2 years of work and then the province came in and was like, nah, we're gonna get a private company to do this. So we're gonna scrap the TTC's plans that they've and we're gonna just get them to redo it all. It's like cool, thanks.
Explains a bit.
Yeah. I don't think that helped.
wow, okay. Yeah, and then the city had control over approving substantial completion, which we learned they like denied at first and then just said, yeah, sure, later. They approved trial testing, which was
They should not have.
It shouldn't.
oh.
That should. So that was a lie.
And they said it was revenue service available and stuff just afterwards, and then they made sure it wasn't a soft launch of the system, made sure to get rid of bus routes so that people would have to use the train in full day one.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Uh, there was also some mistakes after launch, but yeah, I think all of what I just listed, the city had some control over,
Very true. Yeah.
and messed up. And I think most, if not all of them, were all kind of just in the name of schedule certainty and cost certainty, which, like, some of the, like, they're not like, they're important things to consider, but having a reliable transportation system and other things in the public interest should probably have had more sway in the project.
Yeah, and what? And if you get a project that's finished on time and on budget, but it is not a working train, then what's even the point of spending any of that money? You know, Or
Yeah.
like obviously, like the point, purpose of the project was to build a working train. So if you spend less money but you don't get a working train, well then you've just paid for nothing, pretty, or paid for less than what
Basically.
you got, or paid for
Yeah.
more than what you got.
Yeah, and like I feel like what I keep coming back to with this like cost and time certainty is it feels like the city was a lot more focused on almost the appearance of the whole thing or keeping up appearances or reputation rather than providing a good service because it's like okay, we will be on time and on budget so that no one can like make fun of us in the media. Um, and they did that too, or they focused on that so much that they lost track of actually making a good train because
Yeah.
that's just it feels like it's a lot of like after that also just attempting to save face throughout all of it and make sure that they don't get left like holding the bag as it were, but they ultimately did.
Yeah, because again, yeah, no matter what kind of project layout they have or whatever, like the public is like, this is the city's thing.
Mhm.
Uh, so, you know, they're the ones who will have to answer for it.
Yeah. I think it might be useful also to say that like this is kind of also the province's thing a little bit, especially with some of the things they messed up with like forcing the preliminary estimate to be a budget as well, and kind of not on purpose, but like well a lot of these weren't on purpose, but also the Canadian content requirements with how badly they messed up the train and forcing a P3 style of procurement process all weren't great for the province to do. Just, as the province and the city, both just the government that should be representing the people of Ottawa. And, both are major funders for the project and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you included that in there too, because I feel like as I've thought more since the last time, I have thought more like maybe this is also in large part the province's fault, both because cities are just something that the province establishes. Cities don't have any like legal standing, so it is ultimately kind of the province's responsibility because they're the real thing. But also like they forced the P3 on the city, and like as I think about it this no matter what like procurement model or whatever that the city used shit was probably gonna kind of go wrong just because they're doing it's just new like there's so much that they're starting up like we're having the same issues in Toronto because we haven't built a major subway extension since well we haven't built a major subway line since like the 60s I think or like or a major extension in a long time even sooner than that but in a long time and we're having issues because if you don't build stuff for a long time you lose all of the like knowledge and expertise you lose all the partners and like the procedures and all that like soft knowledge and IP that you build up for
Yeah.
time experience just to like finish that I feel like that's why it's important to not make everything like a mega project that you do once every few decades like it's so much better to do like medium to large style things on a regular basis. Like if you look at Vancouver, they do like medium expansions of their system every like 5 or 10 years. It's just like slow and steady building everything out and keeping that knowledge and keeping that expertise and that like ability to continue building things and improving on that things like that is so important. And when and again, when you're like starting out trying to go from scratch, shit's gonna go wrong because it's hard. But to go back to the province, forcing a P3 on the city definitely didn't help. Like I don't know that the city would have done anything else differently because neoliberalism, a bit of a fad for a while. But forcing that on the city definitely did not help. That made everything so much worse. Like they're battling each other rather than actually trying to collaborate and build a system, which is important.
That knowledge thing reminds me of how I think
I wish you
eventually.
were sitting in front of some bookcases right now as you speak about knowledge.
Oh no, because the like knowledge
I
of how to
know.
build stuff. Oh yeah,
Oh, there you go.
not
Declan
knowledge of
Declan just ordered
Lamborghini.
some new bookcases into his garage.
I'm currently sitting in my kitchen, but I've got
Anyways, you were saying you
yeah,
have this
uh,
knowledge.
knowledge of Lamborghinis. That reminds me of yeah, no, I think he was saying how a lot of the time now in Canada and US. I mean, I don't know about US, I think, but like in Canada, how we're starting again to build more mixed use development, like first floor stores, upper floors apartments, things like that. Like logistically, a lot of construction companies just don't know how to do it because the company could have been started when nobody was doing it, and then they just kept not doing it for decades. And then now it's like, okay, we need you to build this, and it's both residential and commercial. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't remember which one that was from, but yeah, that it takes a lot of experience. Like this shit is actually hard, and like it takes messing up a few times and like
Yeah,
figuring out and like building up that knowledge and then passing it on to like get good at it and keep being good at it.
yeah, for sure.
Doubly so for
Mm.
something as complex as a transit system when people already struggle enough to like build a house with a shop at the bottom.
Yeah, it's like an apartment tower with a shop, to be fair, you know?
Okay, a little more than like a 4/1.
Yeah, maybe. But, but yeah, it's, crazy.
Um, so any more bits of the future that you want to impart?
Just, I think we could talk about maybe, yeah, the future. Why it might be probably okay, I think, in Ottawa. You know, we talked about so many bad things and so many things that went wrong, but it's not all bad. I mean, we talked about in the last episode mostly, right? A lot of plans and a lot of solutions that are happening. Like the wheel problem is a pretty big outstanding problem right now, but if that can get fixed and there are plans, there's things in the works. Hopefully that can help. There's most of the or like half of the recommendations have been taken up from the report, and hopefully all of them will be maybe. Um, I think once they get better, they're only going to get better at maintaining the system as time goes on, and I think just in comparison maybe to the transitway that came before it, I think the biggest difference is that it just has more capacity, which was the biggest problem with the transitway. But it'll probably be a similar speed than the transitway, but it'll be way more reliable. We talked about that a bit with especially the first O-Train line. It's just like the train just comes on time, and it comes every however many minutes. You can just go there and get the train. And that's very nice. It'll be very comfortable in comparison to the buses, especially on the not super well maintained streets. Uh, it'll be more frequent at certain times at least. Uh, you know, we talked about it being like every 20 seconds a bus downtown, but but that was kind of the exception in a way. Uh,
You're telling me this train won't be coming every 15 seconds?
not, I don't think CBTC even allows that fast frequencies.
think
What's
it's
the point of
sub 1 minute, but
CBTC?
It
What's the
might,
point of
yeah.
CBTC if you can't even get it every 12 seconds?
The
I have to wait.
train, yeah.
If I have to wait 45 seconds for this train, so help me.
you just like make the entire system like one long train that's constantly moving around and is effectively just a large people mover that you just like have to like hop onto as it's like going.
Oh, yeah. Like one of those airport walkways.
Exactly. Yeah.
They leave the doors open all the time.
You just roll in and out.
The, I, yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
Yeah. But yeah, so train good eventually.
Yes.
It should be good. It should be more accessible than before it. It should be quiet. Well, it's quieter than riding on a bus, and I think it's even, in my experience, quieter than some other subway systems like Montreal or Toronto.
I
But
would assume so. Yeah, just by virtue of being newer and having newer like rolling stock and
exactly,
whatnot. Trains have gotten real quiet in the last couple
yeah.
decades.
Nice. Yeah.
At
Mhm.
least when it's not on the corners.
True.
The
Corners get all
trains
screechy.
trains still go screechy on the corners.
Oh my god, it was insane when I was in New York. When I was in Brooklyn, I like went underneath the shit. Which one's the one with the subway trains? It's the Manhattan or the Brooklyn Bridge. One of the above. Whichever one has subways, and I was just like standing underneath it, and it was deafening when a subway would go over top of you. Like it was so freaking loud, and it was like, oh, this is like early 20th century subway construction. That'll do it. This is terrifying. This is awful. I hate it. And there's
The
nothing like more modern elevated railways, like standing beside like a REM or something. You barely hear it.
the old tube lines in London in the
Mhm.
summer, at least when I was there, sometimes they would, because of just like it would get really hot down there, like in the train, they would leave the window open, like on the car,
Mhm.
somehow.
Oh my god, what?
And that was like actually deafening. Like you should probably have earplugs for hearing safety. Like
God.
just
That's
being on it.
insane.
Yeah.
Oh my god. They see that they need platforms with green doors so they can just air condition every. Wait, actually, if the train's cracking a window, does the train not have AC either?
I guess not. I don't know. But again, it doesn't get that hot in London often.
It
So
does though. It does though. It happens every year over the
it
summer.
does. That's
I've
true. It
heard
doesn't.
English people
Everybody's
talking. It
always
happens every
surprised.
year.
Yeah. I
Only
guess
gonna
yeah.
happen more often.
Everybody just gets surprised every year.
Yeah, they don't think it's gonna happen, but then it happens every year. You guys, you need air conditioning. They don't think they do, but they do.
Yeah. I heard this this English radio host. Yeah, every single summer for the past 3 years in a row have been like, "Oh, it's so hot this summer, but I'll just wait until it's winter and buy an air conditioning unit when it's like 50% off or something." And then it just slips my mind every winter. And and then he's like, "Well, I think I'm just going to buy it in the summer this year."
Yeah, probably worth it as long as they haven't run out of stock. So I think that also happens is that everybody like realizes like, oh shit, all of a sudden when it gets hot, I need to like get an air conditioner. Or a lot of people will break at once and like need
Mhm.
one,
Yeah.
and there just won't be any. So oh my god, how did they not air condition the trains at least?
I don't know why they didn't, to be honest. I think it's just that like, we don't need it. 2 weeks of the year you need it.
You really do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Because at least in the Toronto ones, like the subway stations aren't air conditioned, which can get rough. But like once you get on the train, even if you're packed in, it's air conditioned really well.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be waiting more than 5 minutes ever,
Not
ideally.
usually, yeah. Which still can
No.
be rough in the like when it's real hot, but oh my god. Anyways,
Yeah,
Mhm.
train good.
pretty
Yes, train
good. I think it's just generally gonna have a good impact, and it might do better at the maybe shift away from commuting as the main transit thing in Ottawa. And it'll probably serve many transit-oriented developments, hopefully, to try and bring down housing prices, hopefully. And will hopefully this O-Train will hopefully serve as a lesson to at least Ottawa and hopefully wider Ontario, Canada, North America, the world. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's
That's the O train. It's done.
the O-Train.
Yeah. Now you
Very
understand it all, you listener.
Yeah. That was a very in-depth history of this one transit project.
Honestly, Declan, I was gonna say, Declan, I feel like there's a decent chance that you understand the inner current workings of OC Transpo and the O Train better than a decent amount of people who directly work on the O Train. You're the only person in history to have read that document, so.
I thank you.
Yeah, probably not that many. Though honestly, if you're still here at the like end of this 4-part series where each of them are like 2 hours long, you should probably go read at least the executive summary. It's actually not that long of a read. It it says it's like I forget how many, like was it like 30 or 60 pages or something, but it's like business
There
format. So
was,
like some
yeah.
of the pages are like a paragraph. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty quick and big font size and is very interesting still, even though it's still just the summary.
We talked about mega projects maybe not being the way forward, and I feel like the scope of my notes got out of hand here, just like the O-Train project. I can sympathize more now.
Scope creep is a very real thing. Yeah. I mean, I think pretty much everything we talked about was very interesting. It's kind of if you invest the time, you get a little bit more out of it kind of podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for doing this and putting this on. This
Yeah,
has
thank
been
you.
absolutely fascinating.
Thank
And
you
as
so
as we were talking about before, I think people are definitely enjoying it.
Yeah.
thank you so much for inviting me on here. This has been
Yeah.
super fun.
Good. And yeah, so if anybody listening is wanting to explore further, go to Ottawa / if you live in Ottawa, remain in Ottawa and just hop on their train. It's according to Occasional Transit, working right now. And yeah, get on it, get on the public transport so that we can sway their ridership levels and yeah, get going there.
Yeah, there was lots of stuff in this from the report, obviously, and I think we listed a bunch of sources. I think on the show notes or something. You said,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I've been posting links
I
as
got
we.
a lot of stuff from, or inspiration at least, from RM Transit as well. Just
Gauge.
wanted to say that.
I think he's been cited a few times, so thank you, Reese. Absolute shout out, the guy, the man.
Yeah. Yeah. A few episodes on Ottawa, and some of the comments positive, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And
But yeah.
yeah, so things may be looking up, Hopa, and yeah, so continue training, everyone.
Yeah, and yeah, if you get the chance, definitely go check it out. Hopefully, it's running when you get there, but it is a very nice system, very nice looking system, and hopefully
Yeah.
soon a very nice running system.
And so goodbye.
Hey, goodbye then.